NBA 2K3 for the Xbox, the PlayStation 2, and the GameCube is probably one of the most accurate representations of the sport to date. The game really places an emphasis on the half-court game, and rarely does the game sort of break down in just a who can get to the basket first run-and-gun style of game. Since it places such a strong emphasis on the half-court set, you really have to work hard to get an open shot, otherwise chances are you're not going to make it. The shot percentages in NBA 2K3 are set up so that it's really sort of difficult to make any shot if your guy is even sort of remotely covered. Even if you are completely open, there's sometimes when a really good point guard will miss a layup, a really good post-up man will miss a shot from 5 feet from the basket. So you really have to work hard to get a good shot. As far as the post-up game goes, you can throw the ball into the man on the block and have him back down a defender. And from there you can decide whether or not you just want to take a straight-up jump shot or back him down even more, and then roll off him with your shoulder and kind of drive to the basket. This is kind of difficult to do because the defense will usually bring another man over to block him from getting into the lane. So again, you have to work really hard to get off a defender. As far as the perimeter game goes, usually your teammates will set screens for you if you're waiting out a little bit past the three-point line. When they do that, you can kind of roll around them and hopefully the defender will get hooked on your teammate and you'll have an open shot there, or again you can drive to the lane. It's a realistic portrayal of the sport of basketball, and it really shows that you need teamwork in order to win a game, nonetheless just get an open shot. Visual Concepts has added a new move to the offensive game for NBA 2K3. It's sort of just a little ball fake move where if you're standing still you can do a little pivot step and kind of fake out the defender a little bit, or if you're dribbling the ball and you use it in combination with one of the other juke moves, you can do a really cool crossover to fake out the defense. This works really well in the one-on-one game, but if you're doing it within a crowd of people, there's a really high chance that the defense will steal the ball. So you can't really abuse it all that much, and you can't get too fancy, otherwise you'll get penalized for it. This particular move also makes it a little bit easier to drive through the lane and draw the foul, or at least draw defenders, so when you go up for the layup, you can pass it off to your teammates, or pass it off to an open teammate on the perimeter and try and hit an open three, or at least a really close jump shot. On the defensive side of the ball, it's really easy to be able to defend well just as long as you stay up on the opponent. If you kind of back off, then chances are they can use those juke moves and kind of get out of the way and or pass it off to an open man. But one thing they've really seemed to improve for the defensive game this year is being able to step into passing lanes to steal the ball. If you kind of play off your man and sort of step in between his teammate, you have a really good chance of stealing the ball. Likewise, fronting a player down on the post usually results in a steal as well. So if you're playing against a point guard and he wants to throw it into the post man, you can actually back off the point guard and kind of defend on the post man, making it a little bit more difficult for him to throw in the pass and increase your chance to steal. It works really well, and again, it really shows the strategy that's involved in the sport of basketball. Perhaps the most significant problem on the offensive side of the ball is just the passing game. The default passing scheme is really inaccurate, almost to the point where you'll be pressing one direction on the controller and your man will pass it in the completely opposite direction. The game includes icon passing, so you can be a little bit more precise, and you can also pass using the right analog stick on the Xbox and PS2 controllers, or the C stick on the GameCube controller. This seems to work a little bit better, but it's still a little bit inaccurate, so it really pays off if you take the time to kind of get used to or get familiarized with the icon passing system. Each version of the game includes a variety of modes. There's a franchise mode, which is incredibly deep. Probably one of the best aspects of the franchise mode is the rookie scouting, which gives you really detailed looks on all the rookies in the upcoming draft. It'll even show you which player he most closely resembles in the NBA. So if you're looking at a center in the rookie draft, it'll say this player most closely resembles Vlade Divac or Shaquille O'Neal or something like that. So you really get a lot of information thrown at you, and at times it can seem a little intimidating. There's also a street basketball mode where you can play 2-on-2, 5-on-5, 3-on-3 in various famous courts around the country. There's also a practice mode where you can kind of sort of familiarize yourself with the basic mechanics of the game, kind of get your shot down to the point where you know the release is good. The PlayStation 2 and Xbox versions of NBA 2K3 also feature online capabilities. The PS2 version has its problems right now. When you play in a game, there's really lots of noticeable lag, even when you're on a good connection with another player. Even with broadband, there was really some noticeable lag problems. Hopefully these problems will dissipate much like they did with NFL 2K3 once the game was out for a few months, but as of right now, it's a little difficult to play online. As far as the Xbox version is concerned, Xbox Live does a really excellent job. There's hardly any lag at all. It's set up a little bit differently from the PS2 version, though. Instead of having a lobby-like setup, it actually will just automatically match you with another player who has a similarly good connection. So You just click on that option, it'll say found this person, it's challenging them. If they accept the challenge, you go right into the game. You also have the ability to set up your own game and kind of mess around with the options, but then again, you have to wait for the player to come in and join the game. And at this point, since the Xbox Live is still in beta, there's not a whole lot of people online right now, so that option's it takes a little while to get a game going. But, once Xbox Live launches, it shouldn't be a problem to find players on at all times. The graphics in the PS2 and GameCube versions of the game are pretty similar. The PS2 version may look a little bit sharper, but otherwise, the character models all basically look the same. Visual Concepts has added some nice details in the environments. The whole first row of the arena is now in full 3D, whereas before it was just 2D sprites. Also, when you're shooting free throws, you'll occasionally see a mascot, a fully modeled mascot underneath the basket, along with fully modeled cheerleaders. As far as details on the players are concerned, it's obvious that Visual Concepts spent more time on some than others. Some faces are really accurate, whereas some others, they look, a little generic. The Xbox version is unquestionably the best looking of the three versions of the game. The character models all look really sharp and really clean. The frame rate remains steady pretty much throughout the entire game, as it does in other versions, but you will notice a little bit of choppiness at some points in the PS2 and GameCube versions of the game. Visual Concepts also added some nice special effects to the Xbox version of the game. They added specular highlights to the player models, which is essentially meant to mimic sweat, and it gets more prevalent as the game progresses, so the players look like they get more sweaty. Also in the replays, you'll see some nice little visual effects, such as players being highlighted where the background is entirely in black and white, or some other weird, crazy color scheme. It doesn't make it look drastically better than any other versions of the game, but it's just one of the nice little touches that enhances the overall presentation for the Xbox version. The commentary in NBA 2K3 is really excellent. The interaction between the two commentators really flows well. It sounds natural, and they're always giving really nice insight into the game, especially like at the half. They'll say, what stats stuck out to you? And he'll say, wow, three-point shooting for this team is really good, or he'll say something else. It flows really well, and it really makes it seem like a TV-style presentation. It's really smooth. There's no question NBA 2K3 is a simulation. It places such a strong emphasis on the half-court set as opposed to the run-and-gun sort of arcadey style of gameplay. You'll be using basically every weapon you have in your offense. You have to use the post-up game. You have to use screens. You have to be able to drive and draw the defense in and throw out to the open man on the perimeter. There's really all sorts of strategy in the game, and it really does an excellent job of mimicking the actual sport. If you have all three consoles and you're looking to get NBA 2K3, then the Xbox version is definitely the way to go. It looks the best out of the three versions. The online play right now is better than the PS2 version. It remains to be seen what it will be like once Xbox Live launches, but since it's all broadband only, chances are it'll be really good. You won't have really the same kind of lag problems that are in the PS2 version of the game. It also supports Dolby 5.1 for those that have a fancy setup